just some of the collection of books that Jon's got. We're just going to go through some of his rarities now. Some Sussex ones there as well. So you'd like to have a little chat about those, Jon? That'd be great.
Okay, Andy. Well, I suppose books. I'm really interested in collecting cricket books, and I've got a good collection of older books as well. As these are the point where books overlap with autographs, and so these books are signed. And in particular, I really, this is just a thing of beauty to me. So it's got a lovely dust wrapper. There's Morris, the greatest ever Sussex cricketer, and it's nicely signed inside. Best wishes, Maurice Tate. So it's just a lovely thing, and I'm really pleased to have that, and obviously it's a good read too. From the same period, the great Bodyline tour, In Quest of the Ashes, A Skipper's Log. Here it is, and there it is, signed D.R. Jardine. So this tells Jardine's story of the tests, and some pictures there. The first test, Sutcliffe and Hammond going out to bat, making hundreds, and it's another lovely, beautiful book with its original dust wrapper from the 1930s, well, and signed as well. So what a nice thing.
Yeah, nice.
Another amazing cricketer, such an important cricketer in English cricket, Headley Verity. Big connection with Sussex. He played his last ever game of first class cricket. His last ever game of first class cricket was at Hove. He bowled Sussex out. Sussex, it was Jim Parks Senior's benefit match, and Headley Verity and his Yorkshire colleagues. War broke out on the Friday, and on the Saturday they were meant to go home on the third day, and the Yorkshire players insisted on carrying on the game for Jim Parks' benefit, and so that was the last game of cricket played before war commenced. Headley Verity that morning bowled Sussex out for a paltry low score in the 40s or 60s, a low score. Verity took 5 or 6 wickets, and he'd already published this book, and he was to then go to war, fight for his country, and he lost his life in Etna, on the slopes of Etna in Italy in the 1940s. And here's his book again with a nice dust wrapper, and signed Headley Verity, July the 24th, 1936. Just 3 years before that game at Hove. This is another nice one with some good association. So this is Warner's great tour when he took the team to Australia, 1911-12, and after the tour he gave a copy of this book, a signed copy of this book, to every player in the team, and here it is, Frank Woolley's copy, to F.E. Woolley, with every good wish and in appreciation of his magnificent batting and fielding, from the author. So that's a nice one. And I really like multiply signed books with lots and lots of autographs, and here's a good example of that. It's a fairly ordinary book, Cricket Is My Life. It's not even got a good dust wrapper by Len Hutton, but when you open it up inside, there's this lovely illustration of that Old Trafford Test match of 1953, and signed by both of the teams. So Lindsay Hassett, the Australian captain and his team, and Len Hutton, the England captain and his team. So that's something, that's a nice one. And then I see that you picked this up. This is another obsession that I've started on recently. I'm slowly filling it up, and this is Christopher Martin Jenkins, Who's Who of Cricketers. I think it was published in the early 1990s, was it? 1980s. This is a 1987 version, and there's the opportunity for an obsessive like me to fill it with autographs, and I'm slowly doing that. I think there's probably about 1,000 in here now, of all of the countries, and I think the previous owner had got a few that were signed to the photographs, such as that one there, but look, there's Washbrook signed to his photograph, and I think I saw Bob Willis signed to the photograph. All your choices for me to get a little snippet and and stick it in. And I'm slowly filling that up, so that's something else to help me spend my winter hours. Of the museum and the development of the museum. One of the things that we've focused on, with the fantastic help of Roger Packham and Nicholas Sharp, who are two prominent collectors, two wonderful men who have done so much for cricket memorabilia collecting and cricket memorabilia. And Roger has written both of them, Roger and Nicholas, have both contributed books. I particularly enjoyed, it's on my shelves here, Roger's book, Cricket in the Park. Of course, it must be signed. I think it is. I'm sure it is. Yeah. So Roger Packham, and he wrote this book. But Roger and Nicholas have done a huge amount of work on the publications for Sussex cricket, starting with this book, Gaston, and going through. Here they are. We did one for a celebration lunch for Rupert Webb, and the idea is that we do a small limitation, so the Webb one, 90 copies, we get them signed, and we sell them for £20 each, and we've raised over £20,000 for the running of the museum through that. And more recently, Norman Epps has become absolutely to the forefront of that piece of work, and Norman wrote a beautiful book about Jim Parks, which it's on my shelves here. I can't quite find it at the moment. Here it is. It's up about Jim Parks. We published it in 2017. His Jim Parks world record, when he scored 3,000 runs and took 100 wickets in the season. And Norman meticulously detailed every match, illustrated with scorecards and photographs. We published that in a limitation of 100, and they were each signed by another Sussex hero, Jim Parks Jr., Jim's son, and there's a picture there. So that's the sort of lovely thing that we've been able to do. And I also need to, in thanking first of all Roger and Nicholas and Norman, most importantly, I also need to pay tribute to the work of Phil Barnes, who's I used to call him Phil the Digitizer when I first met him, because he's brilliant with creating photographic images. And Phil is now one of our trustees, and all of these books contain his handiwork, and so when you see images in our books, that's all down to Phil. Here's one, a recent publication. It's one of the very few that's still available, actually. This is Robin Marler, and Robin wrote this himself to celebrate the 2019 World Cup and the involvement of Afghanistan and Bangladesh in that World Cup. Robin played a really important part in the development of cricket in Afghanistan and Bangladesh, and this book tells the story of that. And it's, as I say, it's Robin, actually, we produced this in an edition of 500, and Robin gave a lot of them to his friends and people along the way, but we had about 100 that we've sold for the museum. We've still got a few left, so if anybody's interested in that one, it's available. Other books that we've done, Don Smith, The Story of the Revolution, Ian Thompson, these are all limited editions signed by the subjects usually, and as a way of recording Sussex history and also creating revenue for the museum. The great Hubert Doggett, what a wonderful man he was. This is a collection of his poems which he published. Mark Robinson, who was our great coach. That's a quirky one about one of our old supporters, David Mathias, who died in 2016. Some more Doggett. And then this great celebrations of the heroes of the 1960s, Ted Dexter, Tony Gregg, another Dexter's life. This is more about the Gillette Cup. And then Marler and Park's birthdays. If I may, I'd like to make a plug for you. If anybody would be interested, please contact us through Andy's Facebook page. This book here, On the Level by John Goulston, it's a remarkable book. Goulston is the doyen of cricket, early cricket history. There's nobody who is more authoritative on that subject than he is, and he approached us and said that he had a lot to say about cricket and society in 18th century Brighton. It's the 1790s really, and Norman Epps and Phil Barnes have put together this book with Goulston's text, and it's beautifully illustrated with contemporary illustrations from various sources, the major art galleries, and it's a year by year account from 1788 going forwards of cricket in Brighton, and there's some amazing stories in it. And we published a hardback. There's 50 of these. We've got about 20 left, and they're £80 each, and all of the money from that goes towards the running of the museum. And then we published 75 of these at £20, the hardcover version. There's very few of these left. We're down into single figures, I think. So if you're going to have to be quick to get one of these. But they're beautiful books, and I would be really pleased if anybody wanted to buy one of these from us. That'd be fantastic. So I put together a collection of triple century scorecards, and the earliest one that I've got, this is Holmes got a triple at Lord's against Middlesex in 1925, and I've only got that scorecard in the last couple of weeks. This one here is Hobbs at Lord's. He got 316 not out. They are in 1926, and here we've got a Bradman triple at Leeds 1930. But without a doubt my favourite, and I'm so pleased to get this 1932 fantastic thing that was all that I would have learnt about when I was 7 or 8. The 555 run partnership between Holmes and Sutcliffe. Sutcliffe got a triple, 313, and here you are. I've got a nice signed scorecard. It's the whole match. Poor old Essex, all out for 78 and 164. Verity got 10 wickets in the match, 5 for 8 in the first innings, 5 for 45 in the second innings, and there it is, the signed scorecard from that. That's something I really like.
Nice scorecard.
Flicking through, and I'll speed up a bit. There's Len Hutton's triple, 364 at the Oval. It's signed by Hutton and Bradman. This is an important Sussex one. It's Harold Gimlett. He got a triple at the Saffrons for Somerset. Moving on, the West Indies. That's Everton Weeks. And here we have Bobby Simpson into the 1960s, and most of the ones after this tend to be signed. So there's Bobby Simpson signed there, his triple. This one is John Edrich at New Zealand, and then more recently there was a big gap. There was about 20 years where there were hardly any, and then in the 80s and 90s they become more prolific, and I've got most of those. So there's Viv at Somerset. That's Ken Rutherford at Scarborough. Graham Hicks 400 there, which is I think he signed quite a lot of those. You see those come up quite often. Gooch at Lord's famously. This one, Fairbrother, signed by the Lancashire team when Fairbrother got a triple at the Oval. Brian Lara's famous 500, signed by him and by the rest of the team there. This one that's Jason Gallion, and so it goes through. And I'll just for my own pick out this one, which is another really important day in the history of Sussex cricket, when Murray Goodwin got a triple. He got 335. He broke Duleep Singh's record. He'd got a triple in the 1930s, and here it is, the day Sussex won the county championship. And Murray Goodwin, for the first time in 2003, Murray Goodwin's triple century. And there's one more Goodwin triple, which is this one. He bettered that. He got 335 against Leicester, and he got 344 not out against Somerset a few years later. And there's that card. The most recent triple, and there wasn't one last year or the year before, but there was Sean Dixon got one at Beckenham, and here it is, 318. And just quickly, I've picked up a few 10-wicket cards as well, and this is probably the favourite. It's Surrey v the Australians, 1956. Laker got 10, and then a few weeks later he got 10 against them at Old Trafford, and there's the card for that. So there's a Trevor Bailey one and Richard Johnson, and I think the last one is Otis Gibson. So I've got a bit of work to do to build that up, but it's something that keeps me entertained.